Great.
Thank you
Thank you.
for that lovely introduction.
To minimize the risk. Now we'll go to a lower level, at the 10,000 feet level, and look at some of the key characteristics as defined by Carl Weick and Kathleen Sutcliffe in their book, Managing the Unexpected. The first three are about anticipation. The other two are about containing. First, preoccupation with failure. Looking for outliers and seeing them as early signs. See something, say something though. You see an unattended baggage in an airport or a subway, you are expected to inform the authorities now, right? Because we know these outliers may be signs for bigger trouble down the road. If we really look at how things can fail and see how we can prevent them. Next one.
Another important feature is sensitivity to operations. You want to identify and then address anomalies, and you want to forget what you learned in your data science classes or when you're learning statistics that you should ignore these outliers, and you want to try and find the root cause for them. It's not enough just to identify them, though. You have to be able to transmit that information to the necessary parts of the organization in order to be able to do something about them and make sure that there's a lesson learned. So there's continuous adjustments that are taking place at the operational level, and there is synchronization throughout an organization. There has to be the freedom to speak up. It's also really critical. You don't want to end up ignoring important details that could have disastrous consequences to your company. I put these headlines up here, these men's faces, not because I want to point to the atrocities that were perpetrated, but the fact that in many cases it took decades for these to surface. And there's an endemic problem in the system with insulating people at the top and stifling people that are going to be challenging or have problems and mitigating those problems as opposed to addressing them. This is, I'm sure the Weinstein Company, which is now bankrupt, would love to have been able to intercede sooner in some of those issues. And the fact that there's an entire movement now around this is great, but we need to really get to the heart of the issue, which is why are these issues being swept under the rug rather than being addressed.
The next one was a bit surprising for me when I first heard about this, reluctance to simplify, because inherent simplicity is something we kept hearing about it in TOC, and I said, what are they talking about? This is about avoiding oversimplification, because those small signs sometimes could be the signs of something bigger. And Goldratt told us, if it looks too complicated, take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and you may see the most important thing. In this case, we are making sure we are not ignoring small signs. And that's one area that took me a while to digest. The next one is about commitment to resilience. In the 70s, there was this Apollo 13 incident. The oxygen tank exploded. It started leaking oxygen. And astronauts had to use whatever was in the capsule to slow down the leak so they could land safely. The movie came out of it. There is a dramatization where they talk about putting a square peg in a round hole with what they have. This basically means you are going to have to do your best to stabilize the situation with whatever you have in your hands, because you don't have time. You may not have the means to do the best. You just have to live with what you have. Next piece is about deference to expertise. This is about respecting the people who are closest to the field. and leaders really pay close attention to their opinions and recommendations. And when a dynamic situation is happening, authority goes up and down. They are empowered to intervene. The next piece is something we have detailed in our book. It's rather new. The values of HRO. The first 5 are introduced by Dr. Van Stralen and Carl Weick. Added the 6th one. The first 5 came from Van Stralen and Admiral Mercer. And they enable HRO transformations. As we took a closer look at this HRO transformation is very much related to the human factors. And dignity is respecting everybody's job and everybody's contribution. The next one is honesty. So this is an interesting one because you want everybody to be very transparent without being afraid of some punishments. And in a lot of industries, though, this is not easy. Civil aviation is one of these industries that got great success, as we'll talk in a minute, but they got immunity. They came up with a near-miss reporting system, and they provided protection to pilots.